but multiple people, I mentioned to you, multiple people were like, can I get the recording? So,
Yeah.
yeah, we can just go ahead and let you begin. I'll introduce you. And then if you want to take it from there.
Awesome. Are you going to be asking me questions, or do you want me to just speak on Western medicine, Eastern medicine?
If you want to just speak on Western medicine, then Susan, yeah, if you have any questions, please chime in. And then, yeah, I think you can just take it unless you want me to ask you questions.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions and chime in, both of you, if you want. You don't have to, but I mean, I could speak on this subject for so long.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
For those who are listening, so my name is Katey Yurko. I ran a health blog called The Violet Fog. I run a podcast called Violet Fog As I Know It. I am a writer and researcher. I own a superfood and adaptogen brand called Potion Blend, Violet Fog Potions. I've been very into the wellness and health world for a really, really long time now. I find it incredibly fascinating. One of my missions is to really empower consumers in their quest to just become more educated in things that they're buying and the routes that they're taking to get healthier. You know, I really do believe that there are like some shortcuts that a lot of us don't know. And I think sometimes like there can be so much jargon out there, and I'm really interested in dissecting that and making it consumable in a way that's like, oh, okay, I can actually run with that, you know, like, and I use my own experiences all the time, my own healing journey. And I like to share things that I've done to maybe like fast track something. I mean, I don't believe that there is a fast track to healing, but you know what I mean? Like if something could take me 1 year versus 2 years, I'm going to look for that. And as far as just understanding the human body, I just think it's really fascinating, all the scientific studies out there. I'm someone who loves to have my head in PubMed, and I love to dissect studies, but I have figured out, like, you know, most people don't really have the time to be breaking this stuff down and figuring out what it means, but there's so much gold in there that I just find so fascinating that you can, once you know it, you can like look at what people are marketing and like, does that make sense? Is there science there? And not saying there always has to be science there for everything, because there are a lot of things that I think merit, you know, a scientific study, but it just hasn't happened yet, probably because it can't be profited by, you know, big pharma or government. But I just like to break all of that kind of stuff down into girl talk and make wellness and health really fun, approachable, and just give daily tips and tricks to people for their health journey. So one thing I am incredibly passionate about is the culture of Western medicine versus Eastern medicine. And I think majority of us, you know, we are understanding Western medicine. Those are typically the doctors that we visit. Those are the doctors that we go to. And I'm so grateful that Western medicine is a thing. I am so grateful that it is around, because it helps so many. You know, if I break my arm, I don't want to go to a functional medicine doctor. I want to go to a Western medicine doctor, you know, and I really do think that they can give you so much data about your body. I think that it's incredible. However, I do think that the way that they treat the body it's not good. It's not for the people who are trying to heal. If you have a chronic illness, I do not believe that you are going to heal in the Western medicine practice with allopathic medicine. I just don't think that it's going to happen. I don't think it is set up to help people heal. I think it's set up for Band-Aids. I think it's set up for emergency situations. I just don't think that it is set up for health. And you know what I mean by that is, if you go to the doctor and you're like, I'm having all these skin issues, they're going to treat that very topically. They are only going to look at your skin and that's it. They're not going to look at your gut. They're not going to look at your liver. Two things that are inherently, completely, without a doubt tied to skin, but they will not look at that. You know, if you go to the doctor and you go to a Western medicine doctor and you have a UTI, you know, they will give you antibiotics. And that's basically the only thing that they're going to do for you. You know, they'll have you pee in a cup, try and like test for some bacteria. They will give you antibiotics, and that is it. They are not going to help you look for any root cause whatsoever. There's just not enough time in that 15-minute window. And, you know, and to me, I'm like, you need to figure out what that root cause is. every woman that gets a UTI should be not extremely concerned, but they should be definitely curious. Why did I get that UTI in the first place? Especially if they're getting reoccurring ones. Why are they getting that? It's so important to because there's obviously something lurking in the body. Those don't just happen out of the blue, but Western medicine would have you think that it is, oh, it's a fluke and we can treat it with antibiotics. But with Western medicine, once you see a functional medicine doctor, they are going to explore all areas of your body to figure out what is the root cause of your UTIs. And I just believe that root cause medicine is something that everyone needs to be exposed to, and I dream of a world where that is just more available. Because, and for those who don't know, functional medicine, it's root cause medicine. It's the doctors who are going to spend an entire hour with you. They're going to ask you about your nutrition. They're going to ask you about your lifestyle. They're going to order blood tests that you're going to be like, what the heck? Like, how is this even tied to what I'm like thinking about, but they will connect dots that like you wouldn't even believe or, are tied together in certain ways. They'll order specific tests that really dig deep and things that, Western medicine would not naturally order. Another thing that they might do is, let's say you go there, you can bring all of your prior lab work as far back as like 5-10 years, whatever. They will find patterns. They will look through all your lab work and they will find things that I guarantee you Western medicine did not find. Or if Western medicine did find it, they might have deemed it like, hey, this is normal. Your levels are normal. But functional medicine, they want optimal levels. Whereas Western medicine, they just want, they want you like not barely surviving, but they want you like, all right, good enough. This is fine. Good enough. You're not going to die. And then they kind of send you on your way. Whereas functional medicine, they want you at optimal levels. They want you thriving. They want your body a well-oiled machine. They want everything connected. It's so important. And so, I just think that, and listen, I'm not like, I used to have kind of this like anger towards Western medicine. And I'll share my story in a second, but I got sicker in that system. And sometimes I'm like, how are you so blind to like, depression and gut health? How are you so blind to skin issues and liver and like things like that they're not making these connections? But they don't know any different. I need to just always remind myself that. We all need to remind ourselves that, because it's just never good to take a position of anger, because oftentimes what I have found from talking to people is when they start going to a functional medicine doctor, they're almost angry at the Western medicine because they're like, I could have been healed 5 years ago, or they find out that they have been becoming sicker from antibiotics or certain pharmaceuticals. And don't get me wrong, there are certain pharmaceuticals that I do think, like, I'm so glad that they exist, especially in emergency situations or for things like, Hashimoto's, thyroid. I'm very happy that desiccated pig thyroid hormone exists, and that is technically a pharmaceutical. But I do think that Big Pharma has gotten way too out of hand. They are just handing pills out like it's candy, and doctors are being paid out for prescribing people medications. I mean, it's not right. And but back to just like not being angry, you have to just accept where you're at, number one, like what you said, start finding out and understand that Western medicine has its place, but it's just not going to help you get healed. And especially if you have chronic illness. And I think, and we also have to look at insurance. Insurance does not want to pay for an hour-long visit to a doctor. I just am very realistic. I really don't see insurance ever covering functional medicine. I just don't see it happening. However, I think like a best case scenario, and this is why like I always try and like, push for this, is maybe a blending of the two worlds, where full-blown Western medicine exists, full-blown functional medicine exists, and maybe there's some practices where the two are kind of blended, or maybe a 15-minute appointment turns into a 30-minute appointment. And maybe in that appointment, they looked at optimal levels, not just normal levels when looking at lab work. But if you can get to a functional medicine doctor, I just think that everyone is really going to start healing. I feel like everyone here right now, like you are doing this course with Ellie for a reason. Like you really are wanting to change your life. You're wanting to, maybe you're on a big healing journey. Maybe you're wanting to just reclaim certain aspects of your life. I think after this, it could be so beneficial to layer what you are learning from Ellie and go to a functional medicine doctor and get evaluated with where you are at, and get evaluated of your body, and take what you have just learned and just keep on building upon it. You don't have to do everything at once. You really don't. Like what you're doing with Ellie right now, like this is amazing. This is a lot, and dive in like completely, like really, really do the work here. And after take what you've learned, apply it, go see a functional medicine doctor, especially if you are on a healing journey. And I believe that 99.9% of us are. We all have something that we have to heal. With functional medicine, I will say it is an investment. It's not one of the, like, it's not like a $40 copay. You can expect to usually spend around $150 for a functional medicine visit. But I tell you what, it is going to be one of the most valuable $150 you will ever spend. Even if you only go to a functional medicine doctor one time, and I have said this for so long, even if you just go one time, I promise you will get so much value, because they will talk to you and connect certain dots for you and get you thinking about things that you have never thought about before. Oftentimes people will leave a functional medicine doctor visit for their first time and they will be in tears because they will have never felt so heard by a doctor before in their entire life. So it is just so worth it to see one, naturopath, functional medicine. I want you to write down this website, ifm.org. That's the Institute of Functional Medicine. You can start looking for a functional medicine doctor there. It's a really amazing website. So that's ifm.org to find a functional medicine doctor. Start asking friends, word of mouth. That's also really, really great. But I promise you, like, just start the search, find a functional medicine doctor, and healing can really start for you. So not that I think it really already will start just with diet changings alone, but then like add that layer of functional medicine. And it's just amazing. Every day I get messages from girls like, should I try this? Should I try this new, like, whatever? And I'm like, okay, definitely be very, very diet focused. And I think Ellie would agree with me on this. Like, if anything gets sugar out of your diet, like number one, like I think that's universal. Any functional medicine doctor would agree. But like sometimes, like I think like before you even make like a bigger move, like go get an evaluation with where you're at and then start making decisions for yourself, because everyone is so different. Like bioindividuality is a real thing. It really is such a real thing. And one thing that we can all agree on, of course, cut sugar and whole foods, get as close to the earth as possible, as, the least amount of processed foods as possible. That's going to be universal. But like with functional medicine, then you can start to tweak things even more. Some people might need a little bit more meat than others. Some people might need a little bit more greens. Oh, you actually might need to cook your greens a little bit more because like you have specific digestion issues, like then you can really start to tweak things from a functional perspective. But bottom line is just go see one. So I'll tell you my story, because I think, everyone has a health story, and I hope that maybe just hearing something personal, maybe there's be something that jumps out at you that you're like, wow, I can really relate. And maybe you get inspired to go see a functional medicine doctor. So when I was born, I was born with kind of a really messed up bladder, and I had so many UTIs even as a baby. And I started life on antibiotics. At 6 months, I was basically taking antibiotics every single day. And antibiotics can wreak havoc on your microbiota, on your gut. And the thing is like, I'm so very happy that antibiotics exist, right? Like I would never wish a world where antibiotics weren't there. But if you are always being handed antibiotics for every little thing that goes wrong in your body, that's going to be an issue. That's going to wipe out all the good bacteria. And when you wipe out all the good bacteria, you start messing with hormones. You start messing with your neurotransmitters. You start getting sick more often. Your mental health can start to decline. It is just not a good thing. And for me, I started life on antibiotics. So my gut never even got a chance to thrive when you're a baby, when you're a kid, when you're growing up, that's when your gut is supposed to be the most lush forest of good bacteria ever. And I never even got to start life like that. I really started off just, a few steps backwards because my gut was already messed up from the start. And throughout life, like I would get UTIs all the time. And of course, I never once had my parents would take me to doctors, and these Western medicine doctors, they just, well, this is just how she is. In order for her to have a normal life, whenever she gets UTI, just give her these antibiotics, it'll cure it right away. And they just did that all the time. I'm a kid, I don't know any better, And another thing too that I want people to note, like as I'm saying this, is like you might be like, oh, you know what? As a kid, I took a ton of antibiotics. And that might be you. And we never think to reach that far back into our past because we don't think that far back could impact what is going on right now, But trust me, it does. Things that happen to you as a kid, it matters. It makes a difference. The body keeps score. Make no mistake about it. And so I always tell people that now. I'm like, if you took antibiotics, especially a lot as a kid, like please, like you especially need to, go check your gut, especially see if you have leaky gut. And so, I would take antibiotics all the time as a kid. And then even in my 20s, like they were like, in order for you to have a normal life, like you need to regularly be taking antibiotics. And it's like, to me, it makes so much sense now. When I look back in my 20s, I was severely depressed my entire 20s. And it's like, it didn't make sense. I had a great family, I had great friends, great career. But I mean, my energy level, like you think in your 20s, you're going to be super energetic. And I am actually someone that believes that you can be energetic your entire life. I really believe you eat the right foods, you take care of yourself, like longevity is a thing. You can be so energetic your entire life. My dad is in his 80s, and I'm not kidding you. He has more energy than I do. So like, I don't think it's an age thing, but that said, I also think if you're in your 20s, especially, you should be experiencing tremendous amount of energy. I had barely any. I was, 10 hours of sleep was never enough. 14 hours of sleep was never enough. I was always tired. I was always depressed, always anxious. My moods were up and down. I didn't really have a grip on that. And, and I was always able to like kind of hide it a little bit, like I'm an introvert, like behind closed doors. I feel like to the world presenting, I could like put on this like front that I was like, okay, I was good, but I was really, really suffering. And I would go see doctors, and they put me on antidepressants. I was on antidepressants for 6 years. I had a doctor, I was on Adderall, and my gut was just screwed up. And I will tell you what, I saw so many doctors, not one of them said anything about, hey, have you ever like gone and checked your gut? Maybe we should do a GI map test, not one. My blood work would always come back normal, because of course they're not checking optimal ranges. Of course, they're not checking for TPO antibodies, which is Hashimoto's, which, if you have hair loss, fatigue, really hot, cold sensitivities, if you are working out and you are sore for an entire week after, like things like that, and they're not checking for TPO antibodies, that is not a good thing, right? And I never had a doctor check for that. I just, it's very common for like women, when you go for thyroid stuff, they'll just check your TCH, thyroid stimulating hormone, but you want them to do a full thyroid panel, T3, T4, TPO, I mean, all the things. And so I just always had doctors telling me like, you're normal, you're fine. In fact, they would even encourage me to keep taking the antibiotics, keep taking Adderall, the antidepressants. I mean, it was terrible. And by the time I was 30, 31, even like moved. And the thing is, and I want people to know this too, like I understand how you can feel when you're around a doctor and them telling you you're normal, or making them feel like everything is all in your head, because our society tends to like glorify these white coats in a way of like, they are the end all be all. They are the smartest people in society. They know everything. They are so smart. Like we should not challenge a doctor. It's very common. Are you a doctor? No. Okay, shut up. Like that's very common, right? And I feel so sad for my formal self, for the girl who could not stick up to these doctors, because so much of me wanted to say, no, you're wrong. There is something wrong. I shouldn't be this depressed. I shouldn't be this tired. I shouldn't be having all of these issues. And but I didn't. I like, there was something in me. And the thing that was just so nuts is I was researching all this health and wellness stuff, and they still had that kind of grip on me. Like, there's still like just some complex that I had about them, like thinking that like they are the greatest healers, and they're not. And what I have like come to find out is, like, Western medicine, they're doctors, they are not healers. Functional medicine is healers. And even above functional medicine, you are your greatest healer. You are your greatest healer, no one else. You know your body better than anyone. If God gave you an intuition for a reason, you have to listen to it. If you think something is wrong, there likely is something wrong, but you're going to get to the bottom of it. Also, don't panic, right? If you think something's wrong, like, just know you're going to handle it, but listen to your intuition. Fire your doctor if they say that nothing is wrong, because you might be wrong about what is wrong, but you're not wrong that something is wrong. Always know that. And so I was like, okay, I'm not challenging these doctors. And then finally I did. I said, enough is enough. I'm doing all these things on the side, like for myself, and I'm learning, I'm getting more smart by the day. Like, I love science. I love the human body. And I'm just like, I'm sick of kind of being bullied around a little bit by these doctors who are just tossed around and not heard. And so I saved up my money and I saw a functional medicine doctor. And I remember like just talking to her on the phone. Like, a lot of times functional medicine doctors will be like, if you want to have a consultation with them, like sometimes you can have like a 10-minute talk with them just to see if they're a good fit or not. Not every doctor will do that, but a lot of them will. And I remember talking to her, and she was just like flabbergasted. But when I told her I had taken like close to 1,000 rounds of antibiotics, and she was just like, oh my gosh, you poor thing. I can't believe that they never said anything about your gut. Like, it was just like, she's like, we are going to get to the bottom of this, I promise you. And I felt so good about her. So I ended up, seeing her regularly, and we did the most extensive lab work I've ever done. And I'm not going to lie, it was expensive, but I tell you what, I would pay 10 times that for what I found out, because I had found out that I was basically absorbing no nutrients whatsoever, meaning my methylation cycle was totally off. I also had an MTHFR gene mutation, which half the population does. And if you don't methylate as well, your body can't use the nutrients from food as well. You can't detox as well. And it's not like it's a horrible thing to have it, but like, you need to know if you have that, like, it's so important. And I promise you, a functional medicine doctor will test for that. I figured out I was absorbing zero nutrients. She's like, it's amazing that you are not bedridden, and I was like, well, I basically am bedridden, she's like, well, we're going to fix that, and so we got on this very tailored regimen with supplements and with nutrition, and I started feeling better. I remember within like 2 weeks is when I was like, I'm actually starting to feel better. Like, when you look around, you're almost like, is this real life? Am I really this is the first time I'm ever feeling better. You're almost like shocked. You don't want to jinx it in a way. It's like so great. But then, and like that feeling of healing gets so addictive in the best way. You just want more for that. And you just start to like think like there's so much more in life for you, than being sick all the time or feeling fatigued, whatever it is. And everyone has different degrees of sickness, of course. But I was like, okay, I know I can do this. I know I can stick with it. And I stuck with it. And within like the 6-month mark, I was a fully different person. And now, like a few years later, depression is completely gone. Like, I might have some situational things here and there, but I am more energetic now at 34 than I have been my entire life. I'm like through the roof energy wise. And listen, that's not to say that I don't have some hard days, and I do still have some health challenges, because you can't go through life with 1,000 rounds of antibiotics and not have some really, really big boulders ahead. I've expected it, but I do not give up. I feel so excited about my healing. I know that I can do it. I pray for myself every day. I believe in myself. I surround myself with people who believe me, that don't make me feel bad for eating healthy and nutrient dense. I have doctors who root me on, who believe in me, who listen to me, who, I actually even feel comfortable challenging and being like, you know what, I just don't think that supplement seems like right for me. And instead of pushing it on me, they'll listen to me. I mean, that's just like a revelation, I think, in and of itself. And so, it's just been the best thing I could have possibly done was take a functional medicine approach. And so I just want to encourage everyone, like, it's, if you are feeling sick, if you're dealing with any type of stomach issues, mental health issues, anything, I promise you, it does not have to be your normal. I don't care if it's been your normal your entire life. Until you see a functional medicine doctor, do not accept where you're at right now. I promise you, you can have so much healing, such a better life, and I believe that this right now because you are doing Ellie's coursework, you're working with her, like you've already taken that step of like, you know what, I don't accept the normal that I've had for so long. I'm going to start making changes. And through this course with her, you're already telling yourself and you're going to show yourself you can make big changes. And then, like I said, layer on the functional medicine later. And I really believe, like I can say this with my whole heart, if you stick with it within 6 months to a year, you will be an entirely different person. You will feel so great. So, that's really my whole spiel with functional medicine. And I just do really believe food is medicine. I really believe that more than anything. And I know that you're all going to be learning this right now. Food heals, God put food on this earth for a reason. And there's one of my most favorite stories, like not to get like, biblical, but one of my favorite stories in the Bible is Jesus put something on this man. He puts a plant on this man to heal the person. And I thought that was very interesting because he could have just said, boom, you're healed, right? And like no plant at all. But he used a plant. And I believe that it was to say that food is medicine. Use this beautiful food that he created for your own good. And so I just think like once that really clicks for people, like, wow, what I eat really makes a difference. And I can really like pull different strings to do different things for myself. It's so cool. I just think like life gets better and you start to realize like that, like big food, right? All this processed food, they're hijacking your taste buds. I can promise you that they are hijacking your taste buds. So if you think that salads, greens, all these things like don't taste good now, just give it a few weeks. Okay. I promise, like when you detox all that processed stuff, I promise you, like your taste buds are going to start to return to its natural state. You're going to like, right now you're used to like dopamine receptors, like firing off with all this, processed food. I promise you, like that will drastically go down, like I remember when I used to eat a ton of processed food all the time, like I think I would do it often because number one, it's addicted. Number two, my taste buds were hijacked. I didn't even know it. Number three, I was just so used to like dopamine firing off whenever I would reach for this food. But the more that you don't have it, and I honestly think like just be like really diligent, even for a few weeks, it's going to make such a difference. You will be so shocked with like how little you crave that food, how little you want it. And then also you'll start to figure out how beautiful these whole plant-based foods are. I just think like it can just be, it's amazing how much healthy food can actually taste really, really good. You just need the right recipes, the right combinations, and once, like I said, once you get your taste buds back, it's a whole different ball game, baby. Like I promise you, you're going to thrive. And anyone who says that healthy food is gross, I really think that their taste buds are just still hijacked. They just haven't stepped into that light yet of whole food, plant-based eating. And when I say plant-based, I don't mean like anti-meat, because I think meat can be great for the right people, right? I eat red meat, but and some people do wonderful with fully plant-based. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is single ingredient foods, making food at home. It's just shopping at the farmer's market, spending a little bit more time in the produce section. These things are going to be so great for your health. It's a really big reason why I started my company, my superfoods and adaptogen company. It's Violet Fog Potions. It's right here. I have a stress blend. I'm very passionate about making food functional. I really think that And that's like the fun thing, like when you start getting into health and healthy eating, is like realizing like where can you put in a little bit more functionality. For me, it was my drinks. I drink coffee every single day, and so I am a very big fan of supercharging my coffee, because I think why I can just have my black coffee, which by the way is already full of a ton of antioxidants, or I can put a ton of stuff in it that makes it taste even better or makes it taste different and fun. And I'm going to supercharge it. And it's going to be so good for my immune system, so good for my adrenals. The first one that we launched is our stress blend. It's for adrenal health, which adrenal health, it's so important. It is so much. It's these tiny acorn little organs that sit above your kidneys, and we think that that it just has to do with fatigue or energy, but it has to do with so much more. It has to do with your metabolism. It's tied to immune system. It's a hormone factory. It's even tied to hair. It's tied to your central nervous system. Adrenals are so important, and adaptogens are one way that you can help strengthen your adrenals. Adaptogens are the plants that we use in this blend, and which we use ashwagandha, Peruvian maca, reishi mushroom, and they are plants that have been scientifically proven to help strengthen the HPA axis. That's hypothalamus and pituitary, which are in the brain, and adrenals. You really have to hit on all three to help strengthen your adrenals. And so it's this really nice earthy cacao flavor. I mix mine with a little bit of nut milk. Sometimes I do cashew, sometimes I do almond milk, sometimes I do coconut milk. It is so good. And if you want to try it, just let me know. I'll give Ellie a special code for that for sure. But it's so delicious. And I share that because obviously I'm very passionate about my potion blend, because I think the dosages are super effective. It works so well. It's really great if you're trying to get off coffee, or if you want to supercharge your coffee, or if you just want to make yourself like a really nice, drink in the middle of the day. It's amazing. But whether you try the potions or not, I want you to get excited about food and using it in a functional way, because I just think that's one of the coolest parts of the health journey, is just making it your own. And you will find certain ways that you're like, whoa, I feel extra supercharged whenever I eat XYZ. And that's so cool. So I'm really excited for everyone here and what you're doing. And I just think that you have just such a beautiful journey ahead of you. And I'm just so excited for you. And if you ever want to talk, feel free to send me a DM. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Katey. This is so motivating. And I hope, yeah. And can I ask you just a couple questions? Or Susan, if you have any questions, please, you can go first.
Definitely.
Really, the only question I have is, I went to that site
mm-hmm.
and there is one person in Mobile.
Uh-huh.
And when I click on her, she's an MD. So I've heard about a doctor who's in Baton Rouge that does both Eastern and Western medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're on this site and an MD,
mm-hmm. Yeah,
do they do both?
Yes, there are some MDs that also practice functional medicine. Definitely. She probably, oftentimes what I find with MDs who also practice functional medicine, they typically will practice it two different practices. They'll have one practice where it's strictly, Western medicine. And usually that's the doctoring that really doesn't fulfill them, and they've gone through the functional medicine training and all that. And usually they will also have another practice that maybe does not take insurance, right? But they practice functional medicine. But I would still contact them and ask, are you full-blown functional medicine? Depending on what you're trying to do, Susan, I would say, if you're trying to work on gut health, I would ask the questions are you going to do a GI map test, right? How extensive do you get with the blood work? Do you order a full thyroid panel? Do you look at optimal levels, or do you look at just Western medicine normal levels? And also, Susan, you can often find a lot of functional medicine doctors that practice virtually. Mm-hmm. Most functional medicine doctors, they don't need to touch you. They just need data. They might have very extensive Zoom talks with you or phone calls with you, and then order lab work for you, or order a GI map test or something like that. So if you find someone virtually that you really connect with, like I've done that and I've had great success. I've also seen functional medicine doctors in person and had great success.
I found one a couple of years ago, and I was all set to go see her, and I think she went on maternity leave, and then I think even she called me when she got back in the flow of things, and it's on me to follow up. So now I have to dig through my voicemails. She at least was in Mandeville, so. You know, Mobile to Mandeville is not too long, or even I think it was Mandeville, but anyway, not too far.
And I have listen, the woman I go to she was in Kingwood, Houston, but now she's in Baton Rouge. I don't know, but she does online, she does virtual too, so I can send you her contact.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please do, because I'll be in Baton Rouge a little bit more often, at least next year.
Yeah.
So it would be great to see somebody in person first and then be able to follow up, or once a year, in person and then follow up.
Totally.
Definitely. And in the meantime, I would get together together as much of your prior blood work as possible. Like I would be calling all like Western medicine offices that you've seen before and request all the prior blood work that you have, which by the way, legally they need to give you all of that. But I would be collecting all of that because like you might already have answers in that data that just hasn't been uncovered yet, just to like potentially save yourself some money down the line. Yeah.
This is so awesome. And okay, so Katey, for anyone who's like new to this journey and is I guess just like if you could leave people with 3 initial steps that they focus on, what would you like? You could only leave 3 things, so what would you leave them with?
Okay, definitely. I think like I'm gonna say like one that's gonna be encouraging because I feel like this group is likely already doing it, and it is cut out the sugar. Sugar is a huge root of inflammation, and and it can affect cortisol, it can affect hormones, so much stuff. And I just think like that is one universal thing for sure. Like I know it can be so hard, but keep at it. It is going to be so rewarding when you have a life that is not, you're not in the grips of sugar all the time. And it's so interesting. Like even looking at my own blood work, like I physically feel better, do better when I have way less sugar in my life. So I think sugar for sure. I'd say definitely work on the gut. If you like, I would just figure out what your baseline is at right now with gut. With leaky gut is so prominent. Autoimmune conditions are so prominent. Depression is on the rise, anxiety, all these mental disorders, which I believe is so connected to the gut, so I just think like if that's you, if you have any digestion issues, you find that you're getting bloated all the time, I just think almost everyone has like something to work on with their gut. I would say like figure out where you're at with your gut. Like I think that should be, if you see a functional medicine doctor, that should be one of the first things you talk about. I guarantee it's one of the first things they talk about. But really start thinking about your gut more than you ever have before. Start reading articles about it. Look up the gut-brain axis. Get really curious about your gut because it does so much for you. It is just incredible. So that would be number 2.
For that, so like, do you mention like the GI mapping? What can people expect? What does GI mapping do for them?
GI map test is incredible. It is a stool test. And what they can find out if you have hidden bacteria in there, like if you have an overgrowth of candida, which everyone has candida in the body. Like you don't want to not have candida, but when there's an overgrowth of it, it can cause things like brain fog. It can impact your immune system. It can make you hang on to infections longer. It can cause infection. There's a lot that candida can do that you don't want to have happen. And so it will figure out if you have candida it'll figure out if you have an overgrowth of candida. It can figure out if you have H. pylori. It can figure out what parasites you have going on. It can figure out, it measures such a extensive list. I could go on for so long, but it's really amazing the things that it tests for. And then you could really get like this like 3D view basically of your gut. That's how I've always like envisioned it in my mind of what is going on in the gut. You just have this data set that's just so deep and so amazing of exactly what's going on in your gut. And when you know exactly what's going on, you can get more and more targeted in your treatment, in your supplementation, in your diet. It's so important. And so I think like, you know, if you can invest in a GI map test, like I'm always just very transparent. It costs about $350 to do the GI map, you know, just because I know people like to budget for this thing. And I tell everyone, like, listen, if you were thinking about buying an outfit, buying a dress for a wedding, buying shoes, buying a purse, buying something new for your house, get a GI map test instead. Do that first. I promise you, your quality of life when you start working on your gut, it just goes up. And it's just so amazing to get. And they almost always find something, you know, it's just in this day and age with how our food is, how our environments are, how fast toxins build up, like it's impossible to have like a perfect, pristine gut, you know? So like we always kind of have something to work on, but don't be dismayed by that. Be glad that you have like the science to be able to find this data in your gut, and then you can go from there. So highly recommend getting the GI map test. And then of course, after you would book a functional medicine doctor appointment to have them like read that with you. So I'd say that. And then the third thing is work on stress and sleep more than ever before. Like truly, we have to be in a healing state more often in order to heal. I just don't think like, so, you know, we talk about parasympathetic, which is rest and digest, versus sympathetic mode. And this all relates to the nervous system. Sympathetic mode, which is go, 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 fight or flight. You know, I just don't think that your biggest parasympathetic mode, which is your sleep time, right? I don't think that's enough. I think you have to have periods in the day of pausing, doing a body scan, checking in. Body, how are you? How are you doing right now? I just want you to know I got you. I believe in you. I'm sending you so much love and energy, you know, and I'm always going to be monitoring you, body. Like I got you, you know, like I'm going to be making connections. Like you're in good hands with me. I just think it's so important to have those times. Like that's why I have my potion time every single day. That to me is my signal. Get in parasympathetic, do some breath work, just deep breathing, do my body scan, enjoy my potion. Adrenals, I'm caring for you. It's just so important. The body cannot heal if you are always in fight or flight. Make no mistake about it. You can have the most expensive supplements on the market. Your diet can be perfect, and make no mistake, that will help. Both of those things will help, but you will never fully heal unless you get into parasympathetic more often, unless your body is in a healing state, unless you believe that you can heal, unless you believe that you are healing. That matters so much. I just think like, you know, we always talk about how we're in an obesity epidemic. I really think we're in a stress epidemic, you know, and people are hanging on to inflammation, hanging on to weight. They're so stressed out. Their body just can't heal. We need to work on stress more than anything. We need to work on getting better sleep. If you get poor sleep, like you got to make that a priority now, you know, because I just think it's too important. And the basics move the biggest boulders. We almost think like it's too good to be true. Working on your stress, like it's free. Working on, you know, sleep, like it's free unless you're investing in other supplements, things like that. But you know what I mean? Like it's one of the basics. We think that like if it's free, it's too good to be true. It's not really going to move big boulders. I promise you, it will move such big boulders for you. I think a lot of people, you know, I am someone, I do not sacrifice sleep. You know, I don't. 8 to 9 hours every single night, right? I think a lot of people are getting by on 6 hours of sleep. Like I would challenge everyone, try and get 1 extra hour of sleep. Try to just get 1 extra hour. If that means turning off Netflix, getting to bed earlier, sleeping in a little bit longer. And, you know, maybe your morning routine is actually a little too long, and maybe you actually like need to instead get 1 extra hour of sleep. I believe in a morning routine, don't get me wrong, but I just think that sleep is that important. You got to do it. So sleep, stress, gut, get off the sugar. Those are my 3.
Yes, Katey, thank you so much. And sorry, one more question, and this will be really quick. You mentioned the MTHFR gene. So if you have or you don't have the gene and you are detoxing well, what are your recommendations to help detox or how to help absorb nutrients, or is that just requiring extra supplementation?
Yeah. I think always be mindful of your glutathione levels for sure, like by either taking liposomal glutathione or NAC, N-acetylcysteine, or just like really assisting your liver, like really caring for your liver, making sure you're getting enough healthy fats, getting enough vegetables, that you're sweating. I think that's so important. I'm always like thinking of the methylation cycle, right? And that's like something that you can like pay attention to. Like food is supposed to give you nutrients. And if you feel like you're just like depleted, like that's not a good sign. And so I just believe you always need to be assisting your liver, care for your liver more than anything. I really think like sweat as often as possible. We're in a society right now that we're like anti-sweat, deodorant, all the things. Like I'm just like, just let it fly, man. Like I am down to sweat because it is so good for you. And so go outside when it's hot and get in a sweatshirt even to get the sweat going if you don't have enough time. Go to the sauna, go find a gym where you can afford to go into the sauna all the time. Because I understand that sometimes that can be really expensive. Of course, infrared sauna, amazing. If you could do that, do it. But I even think dry saunas are incredible. Just as long as you're sweating often, I think that is so important. Just always be assisting the liver. I do think like, and liposomal glutathione, like that can be kind of expensive. If you can maintain it, amazing. Even if you can do like a bottle here and there, I look at that as a facial for the liver and just like really good at like assisting yourself for a little bit. So, doing things like milk thistle, not drinking way too much caffeine. If you drink alcohol, make sure that you're doing it in like a way of like, if you're already feeling like crap, don't drink alcohol. If you feel like your toxic bucket is low and you're like, I just want to have a glass of wine with friends, okay. But be willing to do the work after, be willing to sweat the next day, take your N-acetylcysteine or liposomal glutathione. Do all the things to really help yourself, assist your liver. Like always think like, yes, my liver can likely handle it, but why wouldn't I give it extra assistance? Because that's just going to give it more life, more longevity, and that's something that you want.
Thank you. That's so helpful. I'm sorry I'm like doing my hair while you're talking, but I'm listening.
No, I love it. Multitasking woman.
This is so good. Thank you so much for your knowledge and your time. I'm so excited to share this.
Thank you so much for having me. It really means a lot that you had me on.
Yeah.
And if your people want a discount code, I'm going to send you one right now.
Amazing.
Want to get the potion? Yeah.
Yes. I'll post in our group and let everyone know, and I'll talk about it tomorrow. We have daily coaching videos, so I'll put you an email. So I'll just put Violet Fog versions everywhere.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ellie. This was so much fun.
Thank you.
And tell me the name of your podcast one more time.
Yeah, it's Violet Fog, violet like the color, and then fog like the weather. So Violet Fog as I know it.
I just typed it in the chat as well. Susan. Cool. Awesome. Well, y'all have a great night. I'm like so pumped up, and I just want to go back and listen because it's just so many good points and things to continue to share too. Like you're doing such beautiful work. You're a really good public speaker.
Oh, thanks so much, Ellie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. So well, I'll talk to you soon.
Awesome. You guys have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.